Welcome to Study Loop.
Okay, we had 10.1830 grams of ore, and that ore contained sulfur. And when we were done processing that ore, we got 13.0221 grams of barium sulfate out. So the question is, what is the percent by mass, or mass percent, of sulfur in the ore? Well, one thing's pretty tricky, and that's that we got more barium sulfate out of our ore than we had ore to begin with, right? Not unheard of, but it's possible. In either case, we're told that the molecular weight of barium sulfate is 233.43 grams per mole, and the molecular weight of sulfur alone equals 32.065 grams per mole. Okay, so how much sulfur do we have? How many grams of sulfur do we have, right? So if we have 13.0221 grams of barium sulfate, how many moles of barium sulfate do we have? Well, we can figure that out because we're being given the molecular weight of barium sulfate. We can simply take 13.0221 grams and divide it or multiply it by the inverse of the molecular weight of barium sulfate. Right? And so we will get, as for our answer of moles of barium sulfate, 13.0221 divided by 233.43 grams, or 0.055786 moles of barium sulfate. And because there's 1 mole of sulfur in every mole of barium sulfate, or 1 sulfate atom in every molecule of barium sulfate, then that also means that we have 0.0555786 mole of sulfur. How much does this weigh? Because if we can figure out the weight of our sulfur and divide it by the mass of our ore, then we'll know what the mass percent of sulfur in the ore was, right? So let's take our 0.55786 moles of sulfur, and we will multiply it by the molecular weight of sulfur, 32.065 grams per mole. Our moles sulfur will cancel, and we will get 1.78877. 1.78877 grams of sulfur. And as a percentage of our ore, we'll take that number and divide it by 10.1830, or 1.78877 grams divided by 10.1830 grams times 100, because it is percent. And we will get out 17.5663% sulfur by mass.